people who have been out there in the field over the course of the last few weeks, knocking doors. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Claudia Morales.
Hi, hello. Most of you don't. Okay, as you can see, not only am I not an elected, I've never worked sound at a DIY venue like half this place has. So thank you for those instructions. Most of you don't know me. You might know me from being annoying on your Twitter feed, whether you follow me or not. I am deeply, deeply grateful to be here tonight, and that was true before we saw this fucking decisive victory incoming. I'm particularly grateful to be right here in the People's Republic of Astoria. I don't live here, but it was my first glimpse into this amazing, amazing city that I always dreamed of living in. I used to visit here. I would visit my manager at the organization where I cut my teeth as a young organizer, and I thought this city was out of reach because of the same things that Zohran is fighting against. And now I'm here. Next week, I am coming up on 4 years in New York. I know for some that is under the threshold of when you consider yourself a New Yorker, but I have two beliefs against that. One, I fucking love this city and I have never felt more at home anywhere. And two, I think you get a fast pass if the New York Post writes a lot of articles about you and incites months and months of tens and tens of thousands of fascist freaks harassing you. Those are my credentials. As many of you may know, the reason that they were harassing me is related to the death of my late partner, Ryan Thorson Carson, who was killed in Bed-Stuy, but more importantly, who was a dues-paying and very active DSA member of over a decade, as well as someone working in environmental policy in New York, to the point that our Valentine's Days were spent in Albany, and an organizer who pressured sexual predator Andrew Cuomo to open overdose prevention centers when he was trying to get away without doing that. He did that by walking from his apartment just outside of Herbert von King Park to Albany to Buffalo. He did not give Andrew Cuomo the option to ignore him, much like we have not given the world the option to ignore the tides that are turning here in New York. We've talked a lot about what this campaign is showing the world, what it's showing fascists, what it's showing cowardly centrists, what it's showing people who purport to be the face of liberalism but are really just keepers of the status quo. I think it's way more important to consider what it is showing us, what we're showing each other, what we're showing people who are socialism curious or who may never ever find out what socialism is but still have their lives changed by what we fight for. Two things that I think we need to take away from this campaign, in addition to all of the things that we've all been talking about this week and tonight, is one, we have beat some serious allegations and shown that socialists can be normal. By which I mean that this campaign was won by our field work, by every single door that you knocked, every person you stopped on the subway, every coworker who you took the risk of talking about politics to, every person who you approached not with an agenda the way that people say that we do, not to win an argument the way that people say that we do, but by asking and listening and valuing them. This campaign would not have been what it is, not only without every person who took a risk and canvassed, but every person who has been working behind the scenes for years and years and years in DSA and now beyond it. I also think, and I thought we would have to wait a little bit longer to go crazy, so I don't know that I'm going to stick the landing on this, but I think, and not in a bubble bath will save the world way, something we need to take away from this is that the joy is part of it. The work is the joy, and I think we've seen that this week when even riding on the polar coaster, as some of my friends here call it, we have persisted. We have persisted through heat stroke or through the risk of heat stroke or the storm. The other day, after being medically cleared to canvass for the first time since Ryan died because of the PTSD of not just his killing, but the New York Post's incited harassment, it was that giant storm that like fell some trees that are still on the ground. And there was a person whose door we knocked in Ridgewood under the leadership of Field Lead Charlotte, who has done amazing work. That's right. And she was clearly a little bit hesitant. It was the day that the headlines were really, really racist and terrible about Zohran and about disgusting and untrue allegations of anti-Semitism. And she clearly had hesitation on her face, but she saw my friend Sam and she saw the storm behind us, and she said, "It's really bad out there. You guys are still out there?" And I said, "Yes, then we're volunteering. I'm just that passionate about this campaign. I believe in that campaign this much. Not just because of what it stands for, but because you cannot go anywhere in New York without finding someone who has worked with Zohran for years and years, or someone who knows someone who has worked with Zohran for years and years. You cannot say that about any other politician in a mayoral office ever before." And that is just one of the things, along with the sheer nature of the fight for a better world, that makes it joyful, no matter what the numbers show. The work is the joy, and we can't do this alone, and we can't and won't do it miserable. And that, I think, is how we show the very people who were so convinced that they beat us down efficiently enough that they didn't start campaigning until like a couple minutes ago, that it's not working. So I want to leave you with just two things. One, join DSA. My late partner Ryan, who in addition to being a prolific organizer was an activist poet whose work, those two things are unable to disconnect, had a poem where he wrote, "In the end, all revolution is about companionship." When you canvass, whether it's with a best friend or with someone you met that week, that person and the person whose door you're knocking on and every person you pass on the walk there, that is who you're fighting for a better world for. It is not just to win. It is not just because many of us are world-class haters. Those are happy bonuses, but it is because we believe in fighting for the people that we love and the people that we will never meet and the people that we really hate that much. The last year of his life, Ryan wrote in one of his journals, I'm holding one of them right now, a quote by the great writer Mike Davis. And I read this at his vigil in Herbert von King Park, which is where I attended the launch of my last canvass of this primary campaign. And it reverberated in my head. And I think this is very much how we have Mike Davis was writing about Occupy Wall Street. I think this is how we have walked through this fight, how this movement has always been, and how it will continue winning fight after fight after fight. Onwards and upwards. The quote is, "Stop and give a hitchhiking family a ride. Never cross a picket line even when your family can't make rent. Share your last cigarette with a stranger. Steal milk when your kids have none and then give half to the little kids next door. Listen carefully to the quiet, profound people who have lost everything but their dignity." What we've done is that. What we will keep doing is that. I have seen it even just like a dozen times over on the train right here. Every single time that you talk to a stranger, every single time that you talk to them like a human, whether or not they are listening to our cause. And the last thing is from Ryan. He tweeted this when he came home from his walk from Brooklyn to Albany to Buffalo. And yes, he walked every step of the way. If you want to win bad enough, If you're willing to fight heart and soul for what you believe in, you absolutely can. Fight until you can't fight anymore. You'll probably learn how resilient you are, that you can fight longer than you ever thought. So tonight, drink, smoke some cigarettes, celebrate. Tomorrow or next week, we will continue the work, we will continue the path there. Hug your friends, tell your friends you love them, make some new ones, because we're in this together. Solidarity forever.